We're back. Back again. Tell a friend. I can't sit this close to you. What's on your cup?
Paint? Why are you wheezing?
That was a lot of work. Bridget.
Is this starting?
Yes. Of course it is. Oh my gosh. Guys, welcome back. Episode 3. I say every time, episode 1, no one gives a shit.
You don't know that.
Well,
There might be some super fans out there.
yeah, okay. USA, honey. Bridget thinks it's a great idea that we leave the door wide open. That jingling of your ice is going to be caught on the audio. Bridget thinks it's a great idea to let the dogs be a part of today's episode. So, for those listening, my dog is climbing all over the couch, and her dogs are peacefully laying on the floor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said don't let the dogs come in.
Who's this misbehaving?
Mine. That's why I said don't let the dogs come in.
Good girl, Usa. You lie down.
Oh, this is going to be a disaster.
Claire, what are you drinking?
No. We got to say welcome back to Are You Okay?
You said that.
I'm your host, Claire, and this is my annoying sister.
OCD is in me.
This is off to a terrible
I
start.
just audibly heard you gulp.
You know what I can't get out of my head is your ice clashing against your plastic wine glass covered in paint. You're ratchet. Get a new cup.
Claire, tell everyone what's in this cup because it looks like dirty paint water.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were drinking paint water. Wow. So Bridget and I decided that, well, we said this in the first episode, but we're not always going to do non-alcoholic drinks that are, little mocktails. We're going to do coffees and teas and stuff. And so Bridget was in charge of today's drink, and it is a cold brew, all natural lemon tea from Arizona. She says it tastes like mud water.
I'm not a big tea person, to be honest.
Yeah, no, you're not. I'm a huge tea person.
I need the caffeine, though, because sitting down too long on this couch puts me to sleep.
Yeah, I know. It took me 15 minutes to get the camera set up today, and she's wallowing in self-pity because I made her do 3 mic checks.
It's so boring.
It's so essential.
I have 45 minutes in me. I don't have time for the checks and the camera crashes. I don't.
It is what it is.
It takes 2 hours.
That took 20 minutes.
It hasn't crashed yet.
Thank goodness. It does crash. The camera crashes like probably every 10 minutes. So if you ever watch the video, just know that I've tirelessly poured over the edit so it doesn't look like it has crashed. Anyway, what are you drinking? Tell them about it so I can open this thing up and we can get going.
You just told them, but I'll tell them again.
Well, tell them how you feel about it.
I would give this a 4 out of 10. I'm not a big iced tea girl to begin with, and I would take an Arnold Palmer over this any day. You know what I do miss, though? I loved twisted teas. I think when you're thirsty, there was nothing quite like shotgunning a twisted tea. But anyway, that's okay.
This is so good.
You like it?
I love this.
What would you give it?
It's closing my throat. Other than that, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
No, it's really good. It's really good. It's not as flavorful as the OG Arnold Palmer. How do you say it?
Arnold Palmer. Oh, gosh.
Growing up, I had to call Arnold.
Arnold Palmer.
Growing up, I had to call Arnold.
You're
Arnold.
drunk.
No, I'm not. Growing up, I had to call it AP. I had to call Arnold Palmer AP because I could not say it.
Probably thought you were cool calling it that too.
I did, and advanced placement. Those were the classes where you were smart. So it was like AP Chem or AP Lit was advanced placement. And
were you in any of those?
Yeah, AP Chem.
I beg your pardon. Wow.
That is exactly what every person in the class said when I showed up for the first day of AP Chem.
Yeah, I am so sorry.
Her name was Sarah. I won't say her last name. She turned around during the first class of AP Chem and she said, "Claire, you're in this class?"
I am a little surprised.
And I said, "Yes." And then Mr. Walzak, he would
shout out
Mr. Walzak. He's probably still teaching.
He is, last I checked.
Oh my gosh.
He's got to be 97 years old.
Oh my gosh. He would post our grades on the wall, but he would use a code. So you only knew your code number. And so I was at the top of the class for a while.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
You're bringing back memories.
But I was dumb, so I had to go to his class every morning before
You weren't
school.
dumb.
I've never been great at anything. I'm just a hard ass worker. And then
Well, I think you're very smart. You might not have been the most academic, but
yeah, I guess there's a difference.
so I think most of the smarter people I know did not like school or didn't do great in school.
I'll just never forget Sarah turning around.
That's hilarious.
Claire, you're in this class? And I was like, I'll show you.
And you did.
And I did. But my biggest regret was the AP exam at the end. Mr. Walzak was really great at preparing us. He basically did mock questions that were identical to what we would see on the test.
Smart.
And I had such senioritis that I spent the last 2 weeks when he was going over everything bullshitting. And I did terribly on the exam. I also was on my period.
Do you
and
remember what you got?
Mrs. Bernazzani was upset that I brought extra pads.
What? To school? Why did she know that you brought them at all?
Mrs. Bernazzani was our proctor for the AP exam, and I was on my period, and and she thought I was cheating.
You were writing your answers on maxi pads?
She thought I was. So then I was like, I failed the test, and I probably was bleeding through my shorts. Anyway, it was 18 years. Being 18 was a disaster.
So did she take them from you?
No, she's like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, it's a bag full of pads.
You're disgusting.
It was before tampons.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Anyway, back to this tea. I used to call Arnold Palmer AP because I couldn't say Arnold. I clearly still can't. And so I would say the highest you could get on an AP exam was a 5. That was
What did you get?
a 2.
Oh, that's better than a 1.
It could have been a 3 or a 4 if I had paid attention. But I used to say, when I would drink Arnold Palmer, I would say, I give this AP a 5.
I hate you.
I did, yeah. I hated myself up until a year and a half ago. So I completely understand. You were smart, though. How many AP classes were you in? Like, 2.
None of the sciences, though. I was not really a STEM girl, which, looking back on, I kind of regret. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the grass is greener. I sometimes think I would have been an excellent trauma nurse.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. I did AP government and maybe AP English or something. And I got like a 4 on one, and then I got a 5 on AP Gov. All I know is I ended up getting to skip some classes when I got to school.
You got a 5?
On Gov.
Wow.
And like a 4 on English, I think.
Wow.
I loved my Gov teacher. She was so sharp. Like, she was probably the hardest class I've ever taken, but
She was cool.
probably one of the best teachers. Well, not probably, one of the best teachers I've ever had.
Yeah. She scared me.
She was scary. I mean, she would rip your papers up. Almost, there'd be more red than unmarked parts of it, and we'd all leave crying. And then, well, I wouldn't cry because I didn't want her to see me sad. My pride hurt. Anyway, I digress.
You don't even cry. I've never seen you cry.
Okay.
She cried last night. Also, just to be real with you all, this couch we're sitting on was covered in clean laundry
Claire,
15 minutes ago.
this is no one's business.
It's everybody's business.
I would like to point out how well the dogs are doing.
They are doing well. I got a few things I need to say. First and foremost, last week was Bridget's birthday. I don't want to say which day or how old you're turning because of your privacy and the 62 people listening. It's just for safety.
Thank you.
But she turned a certain age last week. And I forgot to tell you guys in last week's episode. So please spam the comments
Aww.
okay, stop being inauthentic.
No one's gonna do this.
You have to try at least. Spam the comments with, "We're sorry you're an alcoholic. Happy birthday." To my
Drop my
sister.
Venmo in the...
Oh my gosh, Venmo her. The Venmo's right here. Venmo her. Just a little bit. Just so
Or a lot.
or a lot. Venmo my sister.
I'm delinquent 3 years off taxes.
Oh yeah, that's that's true. Today last night we were in the kitchen together, and it was just a hodgepodge. It always is. No one knows how to cook. Nobody likes to try that hard in the kitchen, so it's just this like weird muster of snacks all the time.
That is not true. I made chicken enchiladas last night.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And they were actually really, really good. I was surprised. I was amazed. I really enjoyed them. But anyway, we like bumped into each other in the kitchen. I was like, "You doing okay?" She's like, "Just really worried about my taxes." And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I haven't filed in a few years.
Claire, what is on the noise?
This is how
I'm delinquent 3 years on my taxes. Want some chicken quesadillas? Whatever.
No.
Anyway, Venmo me.
Venmo my sister, please. Venmo. Also, I was upset at her the other day. Okay, wait. Story before I get upset at her. The other day, my dog couldn't find her bone, and she was whining like a bitch. And I was like, okay, I'll help you find it. So I was running around the house trying to find her bone, and I go down into the crack of your bed, between the bed and the wall. Couldn't find her bone, but your $1,500 MacBook computer is down there. And a hammer.
That was from the night that I was here alone, and I was really nervous that there was someone trying to kill me.
Bridget can't be home alone without thinking someone is trying to murder her.
You don't know if they are.
And so there was a hammer. But I was really shocked by the MacBook Pro just wedged between the wall and your bed. And I thought, wow, this bitch got money.
It's, I don't. It's lasted me a long time. That's actually arguably a pretty safe spot for it. Can't get cracked or dropped.
Anyway, we digress. My final piece of business I have to talk about. Bridget the other day goes,
I'm scared.
something along the lines of like, oh, my ex, he just blocked the Are You Okay podcast Instagram because I was creeping on him using it. Because he already blocked my personal page. Bridget used our professional business Instagram to creep on her ex-boyfriend. This is supposed to be a wellness podcast. This is supposed to be about getting our shit together. And you're creeping on your ex. I was baffled. I was floored.
I need to clarify a few things. First of all, I don't think he blocked Are You Okay? I think he made his account private because he had already blocked my account and maybe another account. I'm not too sure. But what I would like to say is that it's actually cringier to have an app that's tracking who's going to your page.
Very creepy.
And I'm not saying it's the healthiest thing, but I have no feels left. Like, there's absolutely no part of me that's like, oh, it's nosiness and curiosity, which, again, not a virtue. But I have moved on to much greener, younger, hotter pastures. And I just am a little embarrassed, though, that he's caught me creeping
Yeah.
several times. And I
Yes.
think his girlfriend blocked me, too.
Yes. I'd block you. You're insane.
Anyway, cyber stalking has gotten me in trouble many times. Story time.
Yeah, go for it. Stop laughing.
I'm sweating profusely.
What is the story?
Well, there was this guy who was on The Bachelorette who I thought I would maybe marry, so I cyber stalked him for a long time. I'm surprised the camera hasn't died yet.
Yeah, it's because there are 14 ice packs.
It's going well. Anyway, I also started talking to a lot of members of his family and ended up living with one of his sisters who turned out to be kooky banana. I met him a couple times, but it was no. Like, by the time I met him, I had already moved on. But yeah, just don't grasp, I guess, is the moral of the story.
Bridget was obsessed with a contestant from The Bachelor.
I didn't even watch his season, I would like to say. I just found out about him.
Found out about this contestant and just became a little infatuated from afar. Cyberstalked, which is a really harsh way of saying it, crept on him.
Hard, pretty hard. I think
Crept.
I'd sent him close to 85 direct messages.
Oh my gosh, I feel so lightheaded. Okay,
I
crept
also cyber stalked
his mother.
Juan Soto,
Oh,
the baseball player.
yeah. Bridget used to actually talk to Juan Soto.
That's a strong. Well, I did talk to him. Whether he talked back was
No.
hit or miss.
You're telling these stories terribly. Bridget used to be a waitress in Washington, D.C. when Juan Soto, look him up if you don't know him, he's one of the most paid baseball players in Major League Baseball.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. As far
Shoulda,
as
coulda, woulda. She was his
using that.
waitress at a restaurant outside of Nat Stadium where the Washington Nationals
Navy
play.
Yard.
The Navy, yeah. And she served him early days. He had like 15.
He was 19 years old. He was
yeah,
a baby.
from the Dominican Republic. Whoops.
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer from the Dominican Republic. Your dog is so cute.
He's resting his buck teeth on my ankle.
Ew. Clean your feet. You have such dirty feet. Ew, I can't look at them. I've seen dead people's feet look better than yours.
Why?
I don't know. Been to a lot of funerals.
They don't show the feet.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what's happening. Okay, Bridget used to be a waitress at this restaurant outside of Nat Stadium. Young rookie Juan Soto got lunch there once.
With his creepy compadres or cousins or something who every single time I walked away from the table would whip their heads around to stare, like obviously stare at my ass as I walked away.
Oh, he had friends and family members from the DR
And
there.
yes, and then there was a white couple that took them out, and they were trying to pay for the meal, or they did pay for the meal, and then Juan Soto had like chased me down because he wanted to pay for it, but they had already paid. And when they paid, they were like, "Sorry, you know how they are culturally." And I was like, "Well, thankfully, yes, I do, but like you
Yeah.
might want to talk to them."
Yeah, yikes.
Mm.
But that was the beginning of like a kind of a friendship with Juan Soto.
Here, I mean, it was completely just like here and there Instagram, but over a series of like 5 years. And then I moved to San Diego, and he moved to the Padres, and so I DM'd him again, and we FaceTimed a couple times, which was
Don't get into that.
a little scarring.
Don't get into that. I don't think we can do
Okay,
that.
anyway, I hope he's doing so well. He's on the Yankees now.
Ew, boo.
Boo. But that's
kiss.
a big deal.
We would FaceTime him. Like,
Once.
we
Well.
FaceTimed him in the airport once on our way to the Dominican Republic. And we were like, hola.
And he was like,
And he was like, oh my gosh, you guys are so ugly. That was interesting. Bridget's had a couple DM boyfriends, and they've been sort of famous. But this Bachelor contestant, she kind of stalked him, stalked the family, stalked the mom. Are my teeth really yellow?
No. Claire, the lighting was so bad in here with the sunshine.
Guy,
Are you looking at mine? Are they?
no, yours look white. That's why I'm asking if mine look yellow. I forgot my white strip today before the episode. This has been chaos, but it's been a lot of fun.
The reason we're not really sure what to talk about this time is because we've never made it this far without the camera dying.
Yeah, we usually have like breaks in between to talk. But no, what we wanted to talk about today was just story time. Like we were just going to tell stories, which is kind of what has naturally taken place. But we wanted to tell the story of our house on Terry Circle. Let's talk about
House is not the right word.
Let's talk about this house. Let's talk about this house. We lived in a really nice home in a better, nicer part of Arizona for a little bit. My first half year out there and your first year-ish out there, give or take. We kind of desperately needed a place when the lease at that home was up. And so with days to spare, we found this home on Terry Circle.
No, the day
The day our lease was up at this other home.
she confirmed we could move in.
Her name?
Bianca.
Bianca. Bianca was from a different country but lived in the U.S. And so when we interviewed for the home, she was...
I think she was an elf from the North Pole.
You think she was an elf from the North Pole? Bianca basically interviewed us over Zoom, and she at the time was like in Poland. And she had a bit of an accent, and she was very, very thorough with her interview, and it was very stressful. But she basically said, okay, you guys can rent this home from me. The pictures, it looked good. The backyard was all dirt, but we thought it's better than nothing. It's fenced. It'll be good
No,
for the
I
dogs.
remember putting it on our story, and one of the boys thought that we were in Uganda. That's a true story.
Yeah, the backyard reminded us of like a...
Africa.
Are you being so rude?
Claire, we can put you should put pictures in this podcast edition.
Yeah. I must be laughing a lot. I took a bite out of the mic. My mouth was open so hard.
Oh my god. Oh dear.
We wanted to talk about Terry Circle, the house we lived in, because of the story where Usa, this little white dog right here, jumped over the piano, which is a story we mentioned in the first episode, but I never told the story.
Right.
And so you tell it, I'm out of breath.
Okay. Well, you'll remember it better, but we had some friends in town and we decided to go up to Sedona, and she had to do work on this house. The filtration system was so bad in this home that we were replacing the air filter more than once a week. I think it was like every 4 to 5 days. And the people that came to look at the filter and figure out what was wrong with the house said that it would look after 5 days the way a filter should look after 6 to 12 months. It was so bad. And this woman the landlady blamed the dogs and candle making, beeswax candle making on like the filth of these filters. It was appalling. Anyway, she was petrified of dogs, probably because they were bigger than she was. And she had people coming, or she had to come over, and she needed the dogs contained, but we knew they would scratch a door down. So we contained them in a room with the piano blocking the door. Is this right?
Something like this.
And then we get a text from her, and she's like, one of the dogs jumped over the piano.
Basically, the piano was the only thing keeping the dogs from getting to the side of the house that she needed to enter. And she had said, we were like, we have a trip planned. We're already going to Sedona. We can't be here when you need to come and whatever, check the AC or whatever she had to go do. And she was like, well, you need to contain them because I'm afraid of your dogs. And we're like, well, we've had this trip planned. We've got friends in town. And she was like, contain your dogs. That's all I'm going to say. And we're like, F you, but okay. So we contained our dogs safely and comfortably in the living room using a piano. We had a big white piano in our house. Well, we get a call from her. We've just made it to Sedona. We get a call from her, and she says, one of the dogs got over your barricade. And I said, which dog? And she goes, the little white one. And it was Usa. And Usa had jumped over a piano.
And she was a lot smaller than.
Yes, she was probably 10 to 15 pounds lighter. Isn't that crazy? That's not as funny as I thought it would be. I thought that was crazy. The story, the day itself, it was funny because I couldn't stand Bianca. So when she was like,
so overwhelming.
Anyway.
Oh, we were going to talk a little bit about Lent.
Oh, boo hiss.
Well, I'll start.
Go ahead.
I think so. Lent is tricky, you know. If you are taking it serious, you know, there's supposed to be some element of sacrifice. It's really
explain
a time.
It to the non.
Sure.
Practicing.
So Lent is the 40 days leading up to Easter, and it is celebrated. It might be the wrong word. Practiced in unison or in commemoration of the 40 days that Christ spent in the desert before he started his ministry. And he was fasting. He was tempted by Satan multiple times, went without food and water, just a very difficult time of prayer. And there have been studies, just secular studies, on the power of fasting, especially from food, and what it can do for you mentally, the clarity of thought that can come into play at some point in the fasting if you do it well enough, which I have never fasted well enough to have that happen. But it's also a time of just like refinement. You're working on those areas where you tend to lack discipline. You're trying to re-implement, kind of restart, and re-implement small disciplines. So for me, I've tried to limit social media. Oh my gosh, I was telling Claire this the other day. I don't know how many thousands of texts I've sent and received since I've had a phone, which I got a phone at some point in high school.
2010, we got the iPhone.
Yeah, but we didn't text a lot. Like, Mom wouldn't let me give my number out to people.
Oh no, I'm wrong about 2010.
The iPhone, I was like, I think a sophomore in college.
Really?
I had some dinky little funky phone.
Oh, so 2014.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so about 10 years ago, and I've sent and received hundreds of, probably thousands of texts. I mean, on any given day, I have anywhere from like 50 to 200 unread text messages. And that's normal. And even on the days when I don't have Instagram downloaded, like my average screen time is absurdly high, like 2-3 hours, which is usually texting. All this to say, the other day I'm watching TV and I realized that my pinky finger hurts. My right pinky finger hurts. And I realized that the bone is literally reshaped. Like it's a different shape from the pinky finger on my left hand, because of the way that I hold my phone like this when I'm texting or scrolling. Like there's a little nook shelf.
It's a dent, a full dent in her pinky, and it perfectly fits her phone.
Isn't that disgusto barfo?
Yeah, well, your body's physically altering itself because of you holding your phone.
That is
for
so
a
sad.
decade.
I told Phil and he said, I can't even imagine what it's doing to you psychologically.
Also, we realized that Kris Jenner might be onto something with how she holds her phone.
Yes.
If you've watched the Kardashians and you've kept track of how Kris Jenner holds her phone, if you're not watching, Kris Jenner like pinches her phone. She holds like,
but she probably already has arthritis.
so that's probably why she can't do what you were doing. But it's like commonly known the way Kris Jenner holds her phone is
I
like
have to start doing it.
pinching it with all 4 fingers and a thumb. There's no resting. There's no carrying it anyway on the bottom fingers.
She's on to something.
She's onto something. She's onto something because Bridget has developed literally a like S-shaped pinky
It's gnarly.
from her phone. That had something to do with your Lenten.
Oh, just trying to spend less time on my phone, which has been a little hit or miss with the podcast just because we have to be on there. But I'm really trying this year to do more, like adding things that are good and less taking things away. I struggle with kind of like an eating disorder on and off. So sometimes fasting from food ends up creating more problems than helping. But I think it's just a really good opportunity to start the things that you've been meaning to do for a long time. So we'll get into this with my songbook or cinema, but just like really trying to recommit to recovery and working the steps of the AA program. Trying to go to the gym. I just got a membership.
Yeah.
Tanning.
Yes, that's so Lenten. You look really tan compared to last week.
I don't know about that. I think moving that yellow sunshine has helped both of us tremendously.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, talk to me about your Lent a little.
Oh, it's off to a terrible start. I haven't really figured it out yet. That's the full transparency. I did come across like a Catholic influencer's Instagram video, and I was like, ick. And then she made some really good points, so I ate my words. But she said, like, instead of giving up something, try to do something that is a little bit more like habit forming and like positive. So she was saying, like, don't hit snooze, which we all know my alarm situation is a disaster. I will set probably 5 alarms, all within a 5 to 10 minute increment of the other. Hit snooze. I mean, I'll take like 3-hour naps just hitting snooze every 7 minutes, every 9 minutes, whatever it is.
I don't get that. You could get an entire REM cycle if you just took a 3-hour nap and set 1 alarm, maybe 2 in case you missed the first one.
Anxiety. I just think
anxiety is
no, but it's
every
not.
5 minutes.
I found an alarm chime in my phone that sounds like the beginning of "All I Want for Christmas Is You" by Mariah Carey. It's like da-na-na, and then it goes into something else. But every time I hear it, I think, "All I want for Christmas."
You're heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well. Okay. That was rude. Yeah. Anyway, so this influencer was saying, like, don't hit snooze or stay off of social media. There was another one, cold showers, just things. I'm not going to do that. I already have tense shoulders. They'd be up to my ears if I took cold showers. But she basically was saying, like, positive habits and, like, you don't always have to. It doesn't always have to be the absence of something. It can sometimes be a really intentional effort towards the addition of something. So I was going to only use social media for business purposes. When I say business, I mean like our little side hustles and stuff like that. It's hard to do once I'm on there. I'm really attached. I was going to try the whole snooze thing. Got a little bit better. Like, we're making some improvements with that. But that's really all. I haven't really like found like full transparency. Like, it's not.
That's definitely better than nothing.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do the rosary too. I forgot about that because I think it's just such a good practice to try to do that every day. But I've been having hit or miss luck with that.
That is a tough one.
And then I think just doing your job well. Like, Mom was saying this, I'm nannying right now, and she was saying, there's so much grace in just putting more into it than you normally would, which, I mean, obviously there's a human life in my hands, which is incredibly vulnerable and valuable, but I knew what she meant. Like, you can go out of your way to make a creative activity for a kid who would otherwise maybe be on their iPad more, whatever, like just putting in more love and more effort, which I thought that was a really good idea, where it's value added to the people around us, not just self-restraint.
Yeah. That's cool. It's a cool little, it's not a new concept necessarily, but I think sometimes it's important to remember with Lent, like, don't make yourself too grumpy, too exhausted because you're giving up things, that might be negatively affecting your health or your relationships, people around you, your work.
Yeah.
But maybe form some new habits, some new intentions. This was one of the ones she said. She said to give up like music, like secular music, which last year I gave up pop. I gave up sad pop music.
That was probably the best decision you've ever made.
I missed it so badly.
Claire is addicted to I don't have real anxiety. Well, I do kind of have anxiety about like, active shooters, but as far as like just tight chest, frequently panic attacks, not a cross I've had to carry. Your music made me feel like someone was sitting on my chest.
We were on the car. Whoops. Arnold Palmer. We were in the car on our way back from the desert. We were camping one weekend, and I was playing my music, and it was Nessa Barrett. What's her name?
I do not
No,
know.
it was a really sad song, and I was obsessed with that song. And Bridget was in the back seat listening to it for the first time, having a literal panic attack. It was so sad. But then a year later, I'm in the gym working out, and I get a text from Bridget, and she was like, "You would love this song. I love this song. I love this artist."
Nuh-uh.
Yes, and it was the same girl, and it was like the same song, and I was like, I'm serious. I can find the read receipts. You, a year later, were like, "This is my jam. I'm feeling this song.
I will need read receipts.
I will show you." And I said, "Bridget, that's the exact song you had a panic attack to a year ago."
I'm not sure I believe you.
Yes. What?
Maybe, but
Baby, while you're at it, why don't you rip this damn heart out my chest?
you're dreaming.
No, you.
No.
It happened.
I don't
it
think
happened.
so. Well,
I think it's called "While You're at It" by Jesse Murph.
I'm going to see if it's in my songs. Okay, I will say listening to over different songs of the same nature over and over again, like you feel like you have to take out a knife and cut off your head. Like it's
Good Lord.
horrible.
Good. I've never felt that way. There's actually, Kelly Clarkson mentioned it on her show, and I forget what it's called, but there are chemicals that are released when you hear a sad song that help you to basically prepare for mourning. And they know you're going to be sad, and so they release like happy chemicals or calming chemicals. I don't know. Look it up. I'm no scientist. But sad music like triggers, for some people, it can help like trigger positive chemicals because the body thinks it's mourning. So everyone's like, "Why are you addicted to sad music?" There's a chemical release that happens when you listen to sad music because your body is preparing to mourn and it's trying to counter the sadness. And so sad music is like an addiction. Not lately. I don't like
That's
it.
good, Claire. That's, I think, a sign of healing for you.
Yeah, maybe. Can you look up Jessie Murph for me and and see if you have any of her shit?
Baby, while you're at it, why don't you rip this damn heart out my chest?
Okay. It didn't happen. It did not happen.
I don't think it was that song, but maybe.
Okay. All right.
I think it was. Has anyone heard about what happened to?
Whatever happened to Ryan?
He's radio silent. Last time I saw him, I think he was drinking and driving.
What happened to Ryan?
Celine Dion? No, that song definitely made me cry.
Life after love. I don't really think I'm strong enough. We're a disaster.
Okay,
this
tell me
evening.
your songbook cinema.
My song is it's a song again, sorry.
I can't believe this computer is still working.
That's what happens when you put ice packs on it. This is an industry thing. Finally got the right size. Anyway, spiraling. Yeah, I have another song this week. Guys, it's all I do. I haven't read a book in ages. I haven't watched a show in ages. This song is called Switchblade by Niki, Niki. It sounds rough. It's not rough. It's actually a very like oomphy kind of song. I don't know if oomphy is the right word. I'm not sure oomphy is a word. But I've had it on my playlist since 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. And I would work out in that makeshift gym I had in the spare bedroom. And I would listen to Switchblade by Niki, Niki. And I was on the car ride home from work today, and it came on randomly. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my song. Not my book, not my cinema, not my show.
Lay off on the cold brew.
Tea makes me sophisticated.
Sophisticated.
Anyway,
Ooh.
it's a good song. It's a good song. And it's kind of powerful. It's kind of emotional. and I think you guys should go listen to it.
Okay, this is really nerdy, but it's just true. Mine for the week is the Alcoholics Anonymous. It's called The Big Book. It's a book of recovery. Basically, it has the 12 steps, which are steps that people who really are struggling with addiction can take to be free of their addiction. I thought of it today because I was like, ugh, what have I been reading besides this dog book that I already did a shout out to on here? But it's called The Big Book. You can get it on Amazon. If you think you're struggling with any kind of addiction, or you're just interested in addiction, or you have a loved one who struggles with addiction, I think it's a great book. And they actually make a book really kind of along the same lines, following the same program for different types of addiction. So there's Narcotics Anonymous. There's one for an eating disorder Anonymous. I'm sure there's a Sex Addict Anonymous, which also applies to porn, I believe. So it makes it more specific to the addiction. But even if you're just curious about whether you struggle with addiction, I will say in the circles that we run, I think in Catholic conservative circles, which I'm not saying that's all the people we know, but a lot of the people I know are either conservative or Catholics. I think there is far more illness related to alcohol. I would say addiction, but also just abuse of alcohol. And so I think it's a really important book to read if you're just trying to understand whether or not you have a healthy relationship with alcohol. But it's also just great because if you are feeling kind of stuck, like most people, and the book will talk about this, they don't want to ever admit that they have an addiction to anything, because it means an admission of powerlessness, and that's a really scary thing. And I think it's kind of counter human nature to admit that type of a weakness. So the book just kind of runs you through like the type of people and the symptoms, I guess, of alcoholism, and then really a program for recovery and relief. So I've been trying to read through it. I've really failed at sticking with recovery to this point, which is one of the reasons it's been a struggle, but really good start is The Big Book. So that's my book of the week.
Very cool. It's called The Big Book?
Yes, it's called, the cover says Alcoholics Anonymous, but I think it's colloquially called The Big Book.
Okay.
But
we'll link it.
yeah, we should link it definitely. And I would say if you're kind of like broadly looking for more on addiction, it's a great place to start because it's the OG. But if you know, like, oh, I'm struggling with overeating, or I know for sure that I can't stop watching porn and I've tried to stop watching porn a million times, like maybe look up the specific Big Book edition for that addiction, because that will be more specialized. Feel free to DM too. I wanted to mention that because either the Are You Okay Instagram, or you can just send it to me directly if you want at Bubba_Bosco. It's just a topic that I'm still learning a lot about, and I do not claim to have reached recovery at all. Like, I'm not in a position to be an expert on any of this, but I do, I've learned a lot just from listening and on meetings and stuff. So if people have questions or are struggling, I'm happy to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. Don't bink the microphones.
Bink.
We'll also link everything in the description of all three platforms. Right now we're on YouTube, the video version, and then we're on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We can link there too. So check out the description of the episodes. The links are there. They're going to send you to the website or most likely Amazon. And you can purchase or just take a look at the items we're talking about. The tea will be up there this week, and the Big Book. Again, check out the links in the description of the episodes and of the video version on YouTube. There are direct links for you to go check out the products and the things that we talk about. So we want you guys to be able to have kind of direct access to that if you're interested. Oh my gosh, did we get through a whole episode without the camera crashing?
It's so much more enjoyable this way. I will just say that.
I had a blast today.
You just don't lose your train of thought or your oomph,
Yeah, your momentum.
Momentum.
Your happiness. Guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 3. Again, we're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, audio version, and then the video version is on YouTube at Are You Okay Podcast, I believe. I don't even know our own YouTube channel. What the fuck?
We need to go.
We do. Guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. We love you. No, we don't. Sorry. Too soon, I think. Say bye.
Goodbye.